love talking about our kids. Well, they're not kids anymore, they're all grown ups. And Rodney takes a lighthearted look at his eldest son. Plus, we'll also talk about being newlyweds, getting credit, prenups, and travel nightmares. We hope you enjoy this episode of Old Fools Talking Old School.
But he's like that. Would you believe this boy's got money in the bank and refuses to go out? I talked about him bad this last time. He said, bought you a nice place. Get the damn thing furnished, and get all that old shit out of there that you were carting around for all these years. He has literally got the bed that me and my brother used to sleep in as kids and teenagers.
Really?
Really. It just blows my mind. And this is what happened, okay? Because I told him, like when my grandmother died, of course people were just taking stuff and doing whatever. And so my father's like, don't y'all want this bedroom suite? I'm like, no, we certainly don't. And so he fiddle-faddle around there, and my son told him, that's the bed my dad slept in. Granddaddy, can I have that bed? Well, of course, that's all it took.
Right.
Yeah, baby. Next thing I know, he ain't told me nothing. They pulling up in the driveway. He done borrowed his wife's brother's truck and drove it up here from Texas with that damn bed and dresser in it. I'm like, man, I told you we didn't want that. Lynn said he wanted it. I looked at that joker. I was like, boy, he's had that bed ever since. He moved it to this apartment. Now he done moved it to this house. And he's changed the mattress just out of necessity, but he still got the bed frame and the mirror, and the mirror just hanging on by a thread. When we moved him out there, I was in there screwing that damn mirror on there, the screw just screwing. I'm like, boy, you better go get a damn bed. Rosin even talked me into, at the place out here where we buy some furniture at, to get on this plan, because, Lynn's got his house now, so he's going to be buying furniture. So she had me pay, what was it? By itself, it cost $500, but since we were buying furniture, they knocked off. So I think I ended up paying about $250 for the next 2 years. Anybody in my family that bought furniture from them, they wouldn't have to pay delivery charges.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I didn't want to do it because I know he wasn't going to do nothing. So I told her, I said, all right, I'm going to do it this time. I said, but if this boy don't get up off his behind, you know not to even ask me. And sure enough, to this day, he ain't went out and got it. Got the money, but won't go do it. I said, son, what's the point of having a place? It is not, you got it looking like that apartment you live in. Yeah, all these empty spaces, ain't no dining room set. We told him, you can have our dining room set, because we need to get something else. And ours, it's breakfast nook place, I think, but it's got bar stools, you can put it around this bar. We ain't done that yet either. I'm like, boy, y'all different from when we grew up. Somebody said you can have something. We found a way to get it.
That.
But he still got that old bed. And I told him, I said, get a dang bed. Don't make no sense. But yeah, man, he keeps all that old. He still, you remember Ricky, the first dog we had? He still got his chain.
Oh, really?
Keeps it in the drawer by the door as if he gonna let him out. He got, man, when we were moving him, we found all kind of crap. He's like, you remember this, Mom? You got that? Yeah, ain't no telling what it is, man. I was just shaking my head. And that's him.
You don't find, like I say, most of these young kids, they want new. A lot of them want new and want you to help them get new too.
Yes, so, indeed.
He's not like a lot of the young folks of his generation.
Yeah, he is right, because we had told him as long as he stay on the right path and everything, when he got ready to get him a house, that we would pay the closing
Hmm.
costs for him, that kind of thing. And so that's what I was looking when he finally made up his mind. And when he started going down, he said, "Nah, Dad, I don't need no help.
Oh, okay.
Thank you and Mom. I got it." And so, him and his mom is thick as thieves anyway. And I looked at her and she said, "Oh yeah, he's got it." Like, well, okay, I'm further in my role of being a consultant if asked. You know, so I got back out the way.
Yeah.
So he did it. If he wanted to do it on his own, that's exactly what he did. So I'm
I
proud
heard
of him for
that. I
that.
mean,
But
ain't nothing wrong with that. Some young lady one day might come in there and find her a gold mine. Find her a man like
hey,
that got that kind of thriftiness to him and can manage money like that. She, yeah, say.
well, my last conversation with him, I said, "You ever heard of a prenup?" I said, "Cause you know, we hope God sends you the right one, but there's a whole lot of them that's gonna pretend to be the
Oh,
right
that's for
one.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
so you better be protecting yourself, because if you don't, you'll be getting out of that relationship and leaving your
Hmm.
house and all of that. So you gotta be guarded."
Yeah. And he's in a position where, like you say, he had something back. I know when we got married, I don't know what we could put in a prenup because, you know, like I said, the only thing I can remember I had when we got married, I just bought that big old water bed.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess I can put the
exactly.
water bed in there. That water bed comes with me if we don't make it through. But that
There
was
you
about
go.
it wasn't no money to be had. So I guess it would have been I
Nothing.
guess it would have been a matter of the water bed would have been about all that we could have had in a prenup.
That's it. We were talking about it one time, and Rosa said, "These kids today, 'cause we had a friend that had a daughter get married, and she wanted China and all this highfalutin stuff, and then you see these people, like on television, he's got to get me at least 3 carats. And, what you want 3 carats? You can't even boil water, you know. And like Rosa was saying, I guess we were just dumb. We did none of us have nothing, so we just thought
In
we was in
love,
love.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
was that
it.
was the
You
crux
know,
of our situation too. Like I say, I don't know what we could have put on a prenup because we didn't have nothing to put on that. We just thought we were in love. Wanted
that's
to
it.
get married and start our life together. That was the
That's
genesis of
it.
all our
And,
all our relationship.
and even like today, if something were to go to where we go in our separate ways, you can't really be mad because we did build it together, literally from the ground. Everybody played a part in this. Because starting with, I remember our first Christmas. Funny, we're talking Christmas time right now. I forget something happened, and I remember Rosin didn't even have a job. She had just moved to San Antonio a couple of months, and uh, the television went out. That's what it was. And so we're gonna go get another television. I'll never forget it. I went down and applied for a Sears credit card. Sears turned
No,
me down.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
got a job. I
Yeah.
got a job. Rosin put in the application at the same time I did. Didn't have a job. Got a car. She got a card. I ain't got diddly squat. So I can't remember what happened. I don't know. We had to go buy another television, and I think the television was like uh, $75 or something like that. And so I'm like, well, we don't want to put too much on the card. So I said, well, we'll put 60 on the card, and I'll pay the 15. You know,
But back then,
we,
I mean, that was, yeah, that
hey,
was
I'm
that was
telling you,
something else.
I'm,
That was money.
I'm telling you. So we did that. I think I had a $20 bill. So I put my 15 on there and got my change, with taxes. And we probably stopped and got us a little bucket of church's chicken on the way back home. All I know is I set the television up and we looked at each other and said, "Merry Christmas, baby." And I had, I had 50 cents left in my pocket. I threw the 50 cent up under the tree. I said, Merry Christmas, baby. At least we can watch
At least we
TV
can watch
now.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, you think back in those times. 'Cause I remember I was the same way. Couldn't get a credit card. Nobody was gonna give you hardly any kind of loan. I think the first credit card
Hmm.
that I ever had was our credit card after we got married, and I remember it was American
Hmm.
Express card. And back
Hmm.
then, and I guess in some aspects now, American Express, you had to pay the full balance every month. There was
At the end of the
no
month.
finance
Yeah.
charge. You could let it roll over and that kind of thing. You had to pay the full amount. And we were the same way. I remember we went up to this little Mexican restaurant up the street from the apartments we lived in, and we thought we were doing something big. We put the bill for the dinner that night on the American Express card. We were doing something big. But I think that was the only
Don't leave
charge
home
on the
without
card
it.
for the month. It was like, we can't put nothing else on the card, but we gonna pay for dinner tonight on the card. But I think that was the
Yeah.
only charge for that whole month on that card.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I know
things have
it.
changed now because there ain't many weeks that don't go by that I don't get 2 or 3 credit cards. You've been approved. You've been approved. We're gonna give you this. We're gonna
Yep.
give you that. And I'm like, boy, and it probably was good that it wasn't like that back in the day. I mean, I was a good,
Oh, yeah.
decent money manager even back then, kind of thing. But it would have
Hmm.
been very, very tempting to probably exceed your means if they were giving out credit cards the way they're giving out today.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
they'll give
And
anybody.
then that was in the time of 29% and just ridiculous prices for them. And 19 was the steady thing, but it eventually got, depending on your
Hmm.
credit though, is what they gave you. But that's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And
And it,
I,
I was thinking back the other day. I don't remember credit scores being such a big deal when we were young. It seemed like it was more a matter
hmm
of your income. They ask you what your bills
yeah,
are, how much you make, what are your bills. Do you 'cause I remember, if you lived in the dorms, you didn't have to have rent, so that was a good thing. But then there was people who were married that had. They would get BAS and BAQ and that kind of stuff. I mean, so it was always a matter of what looked better. But I
yeah.
don't remember, and like I say, it just may be a matter of, sometime I can't remember what happened 15 minutes ago. But I just don't remember people saying, well, you don't have a high enough credit score. It was usually a matter of they would just ask you about your income and your outgo, and they made a decision on that. But
hmm
it could have been that. They could have been credit scores back in that time. I just don't remember, being told, well, your credit score is
Well,
not high enough.
if if you remember in San Antonio being such a military town, they knew they could get their money because they knew they could always call your
Yeah.
first sergeant
Yeah.
and get your money. So we didn't have to jump through as many hoops as maybe the regular population did, but because that was the whole thing. Everybody know associated with the military. If the guy that's doing something wrong, call that
Hmm.
number, and somebody will
Yeah.
answer. 'Cause I told you about that old battle axe that got a hold of Rosin when we got married. Got down there, and I was going to work, and she was living across in some apartments from where we were there, and her husband was overseas somewhere, and she was staying there, and uh, she was like to Rosalind, Rosalind was just getting to know people around. Well, honey, when they go TDY, you know what be going on, don't you? I'm like, oh my God. And and if he ever puts his hands on you, all you gotta do is call his first shirt. And I'm like, judging from what you all talking about, I bet you he done put his hands on
Like you've
your
been
ass a whole
through
bunch
that.
of
Yeah.
times. Yeah, yeah. And so, we still newlywed, right? Ain't nobody coming up with all that stuff. So this woman was filling her head with so much negativity. I said, look, sit down. We need to talk. Let me just tell you right now. First off, I ain't putting my hands on you. Number one. I said, but number two, whatever might go down between us in an argument, if you start calling my first shirt, that means we both gonna be going home real quick. Because that's going to affect with the career thing. I said, evidently she didn't do that because he's overseas and she's still sitting here waiting on him, right? You know, and just because you go TDY don't mean you're doing nothing. And, it don't mean that you're not doing nothing. But for her to sit up and tell you that, to plant that seed, I mean, I had to fight off, her being like the new pup. This old dog is trying to tell her the tricks just to be unhappy, So I had to tell her. I said, look, yeah, you ain't got to worry about being abused because if it get to that point, I'll gladly send you home.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing like that. And I said, I don't go TDY anyway at that point in my career. I don't go TDY. What is she talking about? I said, hell, he probably volunteered to go to get away from her. But yeah, man, we had to have that talk. We hadn't even got her in process good yet.
Yeah. But like I say, things were different back in that day when it came to things like that. You think back and think where you are today, and we've come a long way, but I think a lot of that because we made good decisions along the way and didn't do stupid stuff, is the reason that happened because, we weren't making a whole lot of money back in that day. Even compared to today, it wasn't a lot of money. And, of course, they always caveat that, well, yeah, you're not making a lot, but look at your benefits. There was always you got benefits that you got to, and I remember back, they had that little, wasn't a survey, but every year they came out with that. Well, this is what you make, but this is how much your benefits are worth to you. Which I must admit it was part of it. But we had nothing to put on a prenup because we didn't have anything to even worry about. Putting on a prenup.
No.
So yeah,
the keys to somebody else's apartment. That's about all you had.
That was about it.
I remember when we got married, man. By the time I paid the deposit, the first month's rent, and my car insurance, I was broker than a dog. I was so broke when we got married. Rosa had to buy my suit, man. She wanted me to get married by uniform. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I said, if you want me to come home, you need to give me a suit. Because I was into it with my folks. I wasn't asking them for a dime. And she bought the suit. We got married, and I said, I guess I've been paying for that suit ever since. Yeah, she certainly did.
Yeah, well, see, Marion was working back then. Matter of fact, she was working at the credit union. That's where I met her the first time. Was working at the credit union, and that was another one of my defining moments in life. I know I went up there to buy a car, and that loan officer told me I couldn't afford that car. And I told myself then, I said, if I can help it, I ain't gonna never have nobody else tell me I can't afford something. And so I went out and got me a little part-time job when I started working over at the shopette, and to have some extra money coming in. Because I was just like you, I wasn't gonna ask my mom and dad for nothing, even though I know they would give it to me no problem. I felt, I was my own man. I wanted to make those kind of decisions myself. So yeah, I mean, I just sort of took that as a bit of a wake up call and say, okay, how can I make that not happen again? But yeah, we've come a long way over the years, and I think we, like I say, made some good decisions along the way. Yeah, made some good decisions along the way.
Yeah, it was a wake up call, but hell. Like you said, we left home knowing that we couldn't. That's just like when I left home, I knew I ain't living here again, and I mean, that's just the way it turned out. I mean, I went back on visits from the time I left. It was only that 1 or 2 visits a year. Never look
Yeah.
back. Never wanted to
Yeah.
look back. Like no, I'm kind of liking this, and hadn't done that, but for the
Yeah.
grace,
Yeah.
you
I can
know.
say sometimes, despite our best efforts to screw things up, it all worked out in the end. That's for sure. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you. And one of the keys is to find you a good woman, boy, 'cause I tell you, I'd be a blind man now if I had to be out there trying to find one.
I
Like,
wholeheartely agree with you, man. You got to.
man.
It takes two. I mean, I just think back on some of the scenarios. I know when we got our assignment to England, and I had to go by myself first because at that time
Mm-hmm.
you had to have a residence before your family could come over. So I had to go first to look for a house and everything, and I mean I flew out through JFK and went through I can't remember what they called it back then, but the military side of the airport at
Oh
JFK,
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
called Mary and told her, well, this is what you need to do. You fly into this part. You need to go over to the military part, and you get on the plane and everything. Well, things were different because she was flying with the girls. I guess she was like more on a commercial flight or something. But anyway, she got there and she had to go some other gate, like all the way on the other side of the airport to get some things done.
Wow.
It's her and two babies that were about to turn a year old, and it just so happened
Right.
that my cousin, who was living in New York at the time, came up to the airport just to see him off, just to see him and everything, and and he stayed there with the girls while Marion had to go all the way across the airport to some other gate to get something. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but she was telling me about
Mm-hmm.
what she had to go through and stuff. And I'm thinking, here you are, you got this issue at the airport. You got two infants in car seats. You're trying to get to the airplane and get on a plane to fly all night and to get to England.
Mm-hmm.
And she was fortunate that the row of seats that she was sitting on, there was a lady there that was, she said one of the nicest people you ever wanted to meet. So I came on with the girls, and she said it just looked like her eyes lit up when she saw those two little babies. She said from on that old
Mm-hmm.
flight over there, whenever one of them would get a little fussy, she'd come get them. She'd let me have one of them. She'd
Mm-hmm.
take them and hold them and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, just that kind of stuff that most wives wouldn't have to worry about going through, that kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah,
that they go through, and with you and deploying and that kind of stuff. You got to have somebody good by your side, because if
yeah.
you don't and you're not on the same page and working together, it can make for rough times. It can make for
Big
rough
time,
times, I can tell you.
big time. Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to Rosin. A similar thing, I should say. Because I had to, when I went to England, and it pissed me off. Once I got over there, I shouldn't even call him my sponsor because he didn't do diddly squat. The last letter I got from them, they were saying, well, we don't know if we're going to have housing available for you and all that. Of course, I get there, there's a house waiting
Hmm.
for me. I was like, ooh. And so I had to, I think it was about a week after I got there that they cut the orders for Rosin and Lynn to come. And Lynn was like he was 1 year old, and or 1 year old, and they had to fly through Chicago to fly all the way over there. And man, I'd only been gone for about, he'd only been apart from me for about 2 weeks. Boy, she turned that corner in Heathrow Airport. And I was like, oh, that my family is, right? I'm trying to hug Roz, and he's like, get away from her. I mean, I said, boy, you ain't been gone but 2 weeks. You don't remember daddy? Yeah, it was like that around the house for about a month, man. He didn't want me. We couldn't even go to bed. He got, you got to come down, get right down in the
Oh
middle,
man.
you know. Yeah, boy, he was something else. But yeah, it was some. She was getting tied up with stuff, and was
Hmm.
tired, and so Lynn was up and at him, and this lady helped her out. And even on the way back, when we was coming back, I had Lynn. He was about 4. She was pregnant, so she was, you know, getting a little sick,
Right.
and all that. This little British lady jumped up and helped her because I have, you know, the last thing I wanted was for Lynn. He's like, Dad, I've got to go to the bathroom. This boy tried to pee in every damn stall that they had on that airplane. And then we get in there. What's that, Daddy? I'm like, boy, come on. Your mama's not feeling well. You need to come on use the bathroom now. I ain't got time for all this. Okay, he's standing up there holding his little tallywhacker. Ain't nothing coming out. He's just looking around. We go back and sit down. Dad, what, Lynn? I got to pee. Like, boy, I just took you to the bathroom. I got to pee, Dad. So the last thing I needed for him to pee on
Right. Right.
himself. I said, all right, come on, let's go on down there. Get down there, same thing. This one's like the other one, Dad. I'm like, my goodness, boy. So this lady helped her all the way. She was putting like, cold
Hmm.
compresses on her head and stuff, and it was just nice. Especially in today's time, just to even think about somebody being that selfless is kind of
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. That's the way it was with man. I know when we got to Atlanta when we was coming back and going through custom, we had the girls with us there too, and this lady it was. We were in line, and this lady came up through, and she stopped and said, "Oh, you got two of them." She said, "Yeah, they're twins and everything." She said, uh, "Come on with me." She took us out of line and took us right around everybody. And took us up to the front.
Mm,
And I guess it was almost like the route that they would take, people who were disabled or whatever. Took us
right,
on up,
right,
took us
right.
up there to the front of the line, let them look at our bags and our passports and everything. Boom, we were out. I'm like, nah, I would
Hmm.
never have thought that. Because you know how it is, when you come from overseas flight and going through custom, you got, hundreds of people right
Yes.
there all at the same time because everybody on that plane is going to the same place. She saw us. She
Hmm.
said, "Oh, you got two of them. Come on with me." So we went around everybody and got through and headed on out. And I got out in the parking lot and turned and got on the wrong side, wrong side of the road and stuff.
Yeah.
Man said, "Mickey, you on the
Yeah.
wrong side of the road." Oh man, I've been driving over on the other
Yeah.
side for so long. I got out there and turned right on the wrong side of the street, man.
Yep. I know the feeling that happened to me, man. And I learned something on our trip back. I didn't know DFW was an international airport. I didn't know that it was not. I just never
Right.
thought about it. Well, when they said our direct flight was going right into to Dallas Fort Worth, I'm like, what? That was right on time. Robin got mad as hell at me too, cause I said, all right, baby. When we get to DFW, I'm gonna rent a car. We just gonna drive home, cause it's only like three
Hmm.
hours. Well, I was so dang tired from taking Lynn to every bathroom on the damn plane. You know, I ain't had no sleep. I'm like, I said, no, we're gonna have to catch that little commuter flight. I'm not. I am in no shape to drive. Oh, she got hard down, mad, crying. And I'm being sensitive. There's that other
Right.
topic,
Right.
right? I'm being sensitive because she's pregnant. And I'm like, look, baby, I cannot drive out there. I said, I don't want to put us in danger. I'm tired. She just got all unreasonable. I should have called my daddy. My daddy would have come and got her. I finally had to say, look, I had to pull her close. Look, your daddy ain't here, damn it. We we getting on this plane and flying on in. So we flew on in. Boy, I was so happy. Boy, I was
Yeah.
tired, man. Landon had me up, dad, 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 dad. I was like, oh man, because I just knew I was gonna get me some
Right.
sleep.
Right.
We get there, we can drive on in. And I said, now we finna get on this connecting flight, and you talking about 3 hours versus 45
Hmm.
minutes. Now, which one you think we gonna do? You know?
Yeah, that sounds like one time we were down in Florida. We was coming home, and it's about I think 5.5, 6 hour. No, it's about 7 hours from Panama City to McMinnville. So we were going to be creative. 'Cause we always like to leave like Friday night, take advantage of so we could have as much time as we could home. So I said we're gonna come home, we're gonna go to bed, take a nap, go to sleep, and then we're gonna head out about 10, 10:30 at night and go home. And that would get us there about 6 in the morning, and we get home, and then we can go ahead and go to sleep again. And get a few hours sleep when we get there. So I started
Mm-hmm.
out driving, man. I think we got this little between Panama City and once you get to Alabama, this town called Dothan, Alabama, which was about
Mm-hmm.
like maybe an hour from the house. I
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't hardly keep my head up. I was so
Mm-hmm.
tired because that ain't your normal sleep pattern. You ain't normally going
Right.
to bed at like 8 o'clock and getting up at 10 and getting on the road. And once again, I don't know what I guess we would have had to get a hotel. I don't know what we would have done if man said, I'll drive. I said, you sure? I said, because, you ain't tired. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. She drove the whole rest of the way home. I don't know what we would have done other than getting a hotel. I was like you. I physically could not drive. I mean, I
Could
was
not. Yeah.
about to fall asleep. And I said, this ain't safe. I said, I can't drive any longer. I said, let's just get a hotel. She said, no, I'll be okay. I'll drive. And she got us the rest of the way in. So I sort of thought about that when you were talking about your situation with Lynn. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get that kind of sleep, and your body's, your cycle is off. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it can affect you. That's for sure. Well, that's it for this section. See you next time around on Old Fools Talking Old School. Peace.